David, great to see you here at Money2020. Welcome to the Green Dot Content Studio. Would you like to tell everybody about yourself?
Sure. My name is David Grindal. I work for ACI Worldwide. We're a software provider in payment systems. Happy to be a vendor for Green Dot. I run the solution consulting group, so pre-sales technical support for all of our products across the Americas, North, South, and Central.
Great. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what our relationship is, what kind of business we're doing together, how we're moving forward as a group together?
Yeah, sure. Last year, Green Dot licensed a couple of our key solutions around merchant acquiring. So you're running our solutions to acquire transactions from merchants, process them, route to interchanges, switches, and then some of the accounting and settlement solutions around those. And I was glad to say you also picked up our fraud detection system to help keep the bad guys out.
Great. As you know, we're working hard to develop a set of solutions around generally embedded finance services that we can bring to our partners. When you think about the evolution of payments and banking products, how do you think that's going to evolve over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a really broad one. The first trend we're really seeing strongly is a move to the cloud. And I know that's almost a cliche, but it's made things so much easier in terms of innovation and iteration. So a little fintech startup can try something because the cost of getting into the business is easy and cheap.
Yeah.
That's why a show like Money20 tries really excited. It's like a huge meet and greet out there. And there's people with ideas and people with money and vendors that can help. It's really quite interesting.
Yeah. And ACI is a large company with a really impressive array of customers and clients. What kind of challenges do they bring to you? What kind of problems are they having that they're trying to get you to help solve?
Big one right now is a trend we call payment modernization. We're seeing it in all three of our major lines of business. A lot of our payments infrastructure went in place in the 80s, 90s, some of it in the zeros. So there are better, faster, cheaper ways to do things. But at the same time, those systems they're very embedded in a bank. And our customers are facing a challenge of how do they keep the value that's in those systems and yet move to something. Like being able to move something to a cloud, for example, which an architecture from the 1980s can't do.
Do you find that they're thinking about moving to the cloud mostly for the customer experience that they're trying to bring to bear with their customer set, or is it mostly driven by cost and efficiencies?
I see it generally starts from the cost side, but the cost doesn't always pan out by the time you get your bill from the cloud provider and there's a long item list. I generally see it from an agility side. You can spin up environments in a cloud more quickly than you do generally in your own data center. I have customers who literally spin up a test environment in the cloud in the morning, run a series of tests against it, and shut it down at 5 p.m., which just is astonishing that you become from a 1980, 1990 view of having a server running 24 hours a day.
What kind of pitfalls would you advise potential clients of yours to look out for when they're trying to go through such a transformation? Budget overages?
That's a tough one. Well, the cloud costing, I said, is one. Cloud is generally cheaper than on-premise data centers, but you have to watch. You almost need a function of managing your cloud invoices, right? That's almost a full-time person in and of their own. There's a long litany of subcharges, cross charges, item fees. So it needs a person to watch those to maintain whether it's Azure, AWS, doesn't matter. I would say get the architecture right. So there's some things that make sense to put up in the cloud where you need the agility and the rapid iteration. There may be some applications, functionalities that still make sense to reside on-prem. And that analysis could go any which direction, but you want to get the right kind of functionality in the right place. Security is one of the criteria you'd put into that. When cloud first started up, a lot of CIOs, chief security officers, were dubious of cloud security. They'd say, "Oh, I don't trust the cloud. My data center is more secure." And I think that paradigm has shifted. People now realize the amount of money that the Microsofts and Amazons of the world spend on security far outweighs any security budget you have. So trust the cloud security, and maybe some of the secure elements are what goes up there, and some of the stuff that not necessarily is insecure, but is less critical, you host yourself.
So we're, of course, implementing your technology into our environment. And so therefore, we're going to have a relationship for a long period in the
I
future.
certainly hope so.
And like, how do you see that relationship developing? How will ACI be able to help us post implementation?
Okay, a couple ways. So, it's in our interest that you succeed. So, in addition, the last thing that we do is install and go home and see in 5 years. Right? So, actually, part of the function of my teams, the solution consultants, are to work with you post implementation. How is it working? What can change? What next thing would you like to do? You can do that with the software without it spending another penny of implementation services. You just turn on these switches, for example. That goes from my team. That's kind of at a business functionality level, and we understand the market. If there are implementation services that you need to add on new modules or tune something. Performance tuning is one, for example. That's where ACI implementation services come by and help. And lastly, I think kind of at a visionary level, I would like to think that we could be an advisor to you if here are trends we're seeing internationally, perhaps, that might come to the U.S. and vice versa. You might come and say, we have this great idea. What do you think? Have you seen it elsewhere? Is it brand new? Are there any pitfalls that we should be worried about? If we have that kind of a trusted relationship, I think it does us both a lot of good.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
I was thrilled to be here. Thank you.